Hello you guys and welcome to a new video in my channel. In today's video we are going to talk about how to sound more advanced when you are speaking English. Let's start. Number 1. Use upgraded words. What do I mean by upgraded words? I mean, instead of saying simple things like I like pizza, burgers and fries, I would use the word junk food or fast food. So I'd say I like junk food. I like eating fast food. Another example of upgraded words is using phrasal verbs. So for example, using the phrasal verb broke down. So I'd say my car broke down instead of my car isn't working or my car got ruined. Another example is describing yourself by using idiomatic expressions. For example, saying I am a laid-back person, which means you are a relaxed person and you don't worry a lot about things and you don't care so much about what is happening around you. Tip number 2 is using trending words. You know, every now and then we hear about a new word that is suddenly used by a lot of people on the internet, and also it gets added to the dictionary. For example, we have the word cringe. So when you say cringe, you do this. You feel disgusted, you feel annoyed by something. So you would say, this is so cringe, or this is so cringy. Another example of a trending word is saying slay, which means it's impressive, it's great, it's amazing. A third example for you is using the expression hangry, which means to be hungry and angry at the same time. If you want a video that is especially for trending words, tell me in the comments below. Tip number 3 is to use idiomatic expressions and slangs in your speech. What are idioms or idiomatic expressions and what are slangs? Idioms are basically sentences that cannot be translated literally and they have different meanings from what they are translated to. Whereas slangs are just the language that is used in the streets or by local people from a certain country. Now this tip is a little bit tricky because idioms and slangs are different for so many regions around the world. So you might have a British slang that is different from an American slang. An American person might not understand this British slang or this British idiom. And that's why we should not overuse them in our speech. Because if we use idioms and slangs all the time, this means that your English is a little bit unclear. And I'm going to give you an example in the next part. So I had bits and bobs when I popped in. That place was dope, was sick and was on fire. But then someone decided to get my goat and they really pissed me off because they got the mic and I just left. Yeah. Okay, so you guys might have noticed that I used the following expressions. Bits and bobs, pop in, on fire, sick, dope, got the mic and got my goat. Now all of these are slangs and they are expressions that cannot be translated literally. If you don't understand them, then you probably are not going to understand what I was talking about. And so what to do in this case? What you have to do is you have to make sure that you use only one slang in one sentence or one idiom in one sentence. And in case you didn't understand the slang or this idiom, then try to get the meaning from the context. For example, you can say, I had a lot of things to do, when I popped in. Bits and bobs means a lot of things to do. Popped in, it means to enter the place suddenly. So you notice I didn't use both of them in the same sentence. Now, if I want to describe the place, I can say that place was on fire. And I don't just say it was sick and dope and slay. Yeah? So on fire, it means it was amazing. Sick, dope, and slay also indicate that it means it's amazing, but still I am not going to understand what's happening if I don't know the meaning of these slangs. Someone got my goat, it means that someone made me very angry because they were taking the mick. I can say someone made me very angry because they were taking the mick. Instead of saying someone got my goat and they were taking the mick, I just made it more simpler. Because they were taking the mick, it's not something positive because I'm angry. So it means that they weren't very serious and they were just, taking things in a silly way. Alright, tip number 4 is using fillers. Now you can use fillers in your sentences, but like I told you in tip number 3, do not overuse them. Because fillers basically add nothing to the sentence. They don't add a meaning. They just show that you are using this extra word, and they just indicate that you have a good use of advanced expressions in the language. Examples of those fillers are honestly, like, basically, I guess, just so you know, literally. You can use them however you want, in whatever way you want. For example, I can say, oh, I understand. Like I have to add this thing here. So notice using like in this sentence did not really make any difference in the meaning. So if I say, oh, okay, so I understand. I just have to add this thing here. So with like or without like, it doesn't really add anything to my sentence. Or starting my speech by saying, literally, that's what I told him. Honestly, that's what I told him. Basically, that's what I told him. So those as well are fillers and they're not adding anything to my sentence, and so it's alright if I use them or if I don't use them. One tip though, if you struggle with a certain filler in your own language and you keep on using it with English, replace it with one of those fillers. A very big example is using يعني, and instead of saying يعني all the time, you can just say basically or literally. Just remember, do not overuse them. Tip number 5, and it's the last tip for this video, use abbreviations and contractions. How are abbreviations and contractions different from each other? Abbreviation is just basically using the initials of a certain expression. For example, ASAP, as soon as possible. BRB, be right back. BRP, problem. Midday, middle of the day. Midnight, middle of the night. LOL, laugh out loud. So those are abbreviations. If you use them, it kind of indicates that you are an advanced user of the language. And contractions are a little bit different. Now, contractions mean to reduce the sentence into a smaller size. So when you are saying the sentence, you do not say it fully. You do not say it as if it has 4 words. You say it as if it has 2 words. Examples of these contractions are going to, gonna, want to, wanna, got to, gotta, and of course speech contractions, which is when I'm talking, I kind of reduce the size of the sentence and I say it faster. Contractions are usually used with fast speech. So when I'm speaking fast, I tend to reduce the size of the sentence that I am using. So, for example, instead of saying, are you gonna come? I'd say, are you gonna come? Are you gonna come? Which is, are you going to come? Are you gonna come? So I barely said the are and the you and the going to. I kind of got them together. Another example is, instead of saying, what have you got? I would say, what you got? What you got? So notice the what and the you as if they are in one word, what you, and then got by itself. Americans would say, what do you got? What do you got? With an R. British, what you got? A third example is, what have you been up to? What you've been up to? What you've been up to? Instead of, what have you been up to? One more example I'm going to give you, which is, want to join me for dinner? Instead of, do you want to join me for dinner? Don't stress a lot about contractions because they kind of come with the language use. So the more you use the language, the more you will notice yourself saying things faster. And so contractions are just going to happen naturally in your speech. And you can learn them and you can just not learn them and not stress yourself out so much if you don't speak in a fast way. Alright guys, and that's it for today's video. I hope that you have found it useful. If you have any other tips that you'd like to share with other learners, please type it in the comments section below and tell us if you use any of those ways. And see you in another video. Goodbye!